Little boy. Points at a stranger and says daddy. The truth will shock you. The mall buzzed with life, escalators humming, children squealing near the play zones, and sales announcements echoing across every floor. Amongst the crowd moved a young woman, Aisha, clutching her 5-year-old son's hand. Ali walked beside her, his curious eyes scanning every shop window, every flashing light, every stranger. Aisha had planned this day carefully, just a few hours outside, to buy Ali a new toy, grab some groceries, maybe treat him to ice cream. It had been a long, emotionally exhausting week. Life as a single mother had never been easy. Since her husband's death 5 years ago, Aisha had played every role: mother, father, protector, and provider. But Ali was strong, stronger than she thought a child could be. He rarely cried for his father, though he asked questions sometimes. What was Baba like? Did he like chocolate ice cream too? Innocent things, often followed by dreams. Strange dreams, where Ali said his dream daddy would play with him in the park and tell him he loved him. Aisha never discouraged those dreams. They were harmless, she thought. They were passing a toy store when it happened. Ali suddenly let go of her hand and ran forward, so fast she didn't even get to call his name. She followed, alarmed, and found him standing in front of a tall, well-dressed man in his early 30s. The man looked surprised, confused even, as Ali pointed up at him and said, clear as day, "Daddy." The word hit Aisha like a train. She grabbed Ali's arm, pulled him back. "Ali, what are you doing?" she whispered harshly. "That's not your daddy." But Ali clung to her and pointed again. "It is. He's the one from my dreams, Ami." "He's the same!" The stranger knelt down, his face pale, as if struck by lightning, his eyes locked with Ali's, wide, searching, familiar. Then softly, "Why did you call me Daddy?" Ali smiled. "Because you are. I know you." The man didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss it. Instead, something deep stirred behind his expression. A flicker of memory, of recognition. Aisha, embarrassed and defensive, began to apologize, but the man said something that made her stop cold. "Maybe we should talk." They sat in a quiet corner of the mall cafe, an odd trio, a confused woman, a visibly shaken man, and a child who looked perfectly at ease, sipping mango juice like nothing extraordinary had just happened. Aisha clutched her handbag tightly. Her eyes remained fixed on the man across from her, who now introduced himself in a low, almost cautious voice. "My name is Waqar," he began. "I'm a software engineer. I live nearby. But that's not what's important. Right now," Aisha narrowed her gaze, trying to mask the unease rising inside her. She glanced at Ali, who now played with a sugar packet on the table, completely at peace in the man's presence. Waqar looked at Ali for a moment, then turned to Aisha again. "This might sound insane, but 5 years ago I had a twin brother, identical. His name was Fahad." Aisha's breath caught in her throat. Waqar continued, "We were close once, inseparable. But something happened, a disagreement about family, about choices. We stopped talking. One day he called and said he was getting married. That was the last time I ever heard his voice." Aisha's lips parted slightly. "Fahad was my husband." Time seemed to pause. Even the clinking of cups and the quiet music around them faded. Waqar blinked, stunned, then leaned forward. "He never told me your name. I never knew he had a child." "He never told me he had a twin," Aisha replied, her voice hoarse. "He said he had no close family, that he didn't want to talk about the past." Waqar's eyes darkened with guilt. "He meant me." Ali looked up at both of them, sensing the weight of the conversation. He tilted his head innocently. "So, are you really Daddy's brother?" Waqar smiled faintly. "Yes, and that means I'm your chachu." Aisha swallowed hard, her fingers trembling slightly. The resemblance was undeniable now. The same soft eyes, the same dimple when he half smiled, even the way his voice softened when speaking to Ali. It was Fahad, and yet not. "I thought I was over losing him," she whispered, "but now it feels like he's sitting right in front of me." Waqar didn't respond right away. He just looked at her and said softly, "Maybe fate isn't done with us yet." That night, after they returned home, Aisha couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her heart thudding with every memory that Waqar's presence had unearthed. She could still see the look on his face when he realized who Ali was. That stunned silence, that fragile, grieving recognition. It wasn't a trick. It wasn't imagination. It was real. She turned to look at her son, fast asleep beside her. His small hand gripped his blanket. His chest rose and fell in peaceful rhythm. He had smiled the entire way home. That innocent, satisfied smile children only wear when something finally makes sense in their world. Earlier, she had asked him gently, "Ali, how did you know that man was like your Baba?" Ali had answered sleepily, "Because when I looked at him, my heart didn't feel sad anymore." The next morning, Aisha poured tea with shaking hands. She thought of Fahad, of his laughter, the way he used to hum while brushing his teeth, the way he'd hold her hand during long drives. She thought of how much he had kept hidden. Why didn't he tell her about Waqar? About his family? Then Ali walked in holding a crumpled drawing. "Ami, look, I made this a long time ago." She opened the paper slowly. It was a crude but heartfelt sketch. 3 stick figures holding hands. A tall man, a woman, and a little boy. But there was something unusual. There were 2 tall men. "Ali, who is this other person?" she asked. "That's my other daddy," he said with a yawn. "The one from my dreams. He talks to me when I'm sad." She froze. "You mean like a ghost?" Ali shook his head. "No, not like that. He's just there sometimes. He tells me I'm safe. He says one day I'll meet someone who feels like him, and then I won't miss him as much." Tears welled up in Aisha's eyes. Had Fahad somehow remained close? Was a part of him still watching over their son? She picked Ali up and held him tightly. That afternoon, she made a decision. "A call. Waqar," she said when he picked up. "Would you like to come for dinner tomorrow?" There was a long pause, then a soft, grateful, "I'd love to." Waqar stood at the doorstep the next evening, nervously holding a small box wrapped in red paper. He had barely slept the night before. The image of Ali's little face, calling him Daddy, with such conviction, had etched itself into his mind. But more than that, it was Aisha's voice on the phone, soft, unsure but willing, that had truly shaken something loose inside him. He hadn't expected forgiveness. He hadn't expected an invitation. And yet, here he was. Aisha opened the door, dressed simply in a pale blue shalwar kameez. Her expression was unreadable, part warm, part guarded. The air between them was thick with memories neither of them had lived together, yet somehow both carried. "Come in," she said gently. Waqar stepped inside. The apartment was small but neat, filled with the scent of freshly cooked rice and cardamom. He noticed a photo of Fahad on the wall, his mirror image, smiling in a family portrait with Aisha and a baby Ali. It was like looking into another life, a life he had missed. Ali came running from the hallway, arms wide. "Chachu!" Waqar bent down and embraced him, surprised at how naturally it felt to hold him. "I brought you something," he said, handing him the box. Ali tore it open, with the kind of glee only children have. Inside was a small model airplane, painted sky blue. "Whoa! I love it!" he squealed, holding it up like a trophy. "You remembered I said I like planes?" Aisha raised an eyebrow, impressed. Waqar smiled, a bit sheepishly. "He told me, at the mall." I paid attention. They sat down for dinner. Chicken curry, rice, salad, and homemade roti. It wasn't the food that warmed Waqar's heart, though. It was the quiet chatter, the way Ali talked non-stop, the way Aisha laughed, softly when he made silly faces. It was something he hadn't felt in years. Family. After the meal, they sat in the living room. Aisha brought out a dusty album and placed it on the table. "Want to see something?" she asked. As Waqar flipped through the pages, his eyes began to blur. There was Fahad holding newborn Ali, Fahad and Aisha at their wedding, a candid shot of Fahad making silly faces. "I missed it all," Waqar whispered. "I wasn't there when he became a father. I wasn't even there when he left." Aisha placed a hand gently on his. "Maybe you weren't meant to be there then. But you're here now. And sometimes, now is all that matters." Spring crept gently into the city, bringing with it golden sunlight and quiet breezes. Weeks had passed since that fateful day at the mall, since Ali had unknowingly reached through time and grief to bridge a gap between what was lost and what still remained. Aisha never imagined that letting Waqar into their lives would feel so natural. What started as cautious dinners and brief playdates soon grew into something more fluid, routine, even comforting. Waqar never tried to take Fahad's place. In fact, he avoided it. When Ali asked questions about his father, Waqar always spoke gently, with respect and affection. "Your Baba was stronger than me," he once said. "He loved with his whole heart. You got that from him." Ali beamed every time. One Friday afternoon, as Waqar arrived to pick up Ali for a trip to the park, he found Aisha on the balcony, lost in thought. She turned at the sound of the door and smiled, a soft, tired kind of smile. "He's inside getting his shoes," she said. "He made you a picture," Waqar chuckled. "He's always drawing airplanes or superheroes now." She paused, then asked, "Do you ever think about what life might have been like if things had been different?" He leaned against the railing, thoughtful. "All the time. I think about how I wasted years in anger, about how I lost my brother because I was too proud to call him back." Aisha nodded. "And yet, you're here." Waqar looked at her, eyes calm. "Maybe I was meant to be, not to replace anyone, but to protect what Fahad left behind." Inside, the door opened with a thump. Ali came running out, holding a folded paper. "Ta-da!" Waqar unfolded it. Another drawing. This one showed 4 figures: a boy, a woman, and 2 men, one with angel wings floating in the sky, the other standing next to them, holding the boy's hand. "That's Baba," Ali said, pointing to the one above. "And that's you. You don't have wings, so you're supposed to stay." Aisha covered her mouth, blinking away tears. Waqar bent down and hugged him tightly. "Then I guess I'll have to stay for a very, very long time." The sun dipped lower, casting warm light over them as they walked to the park, hand in hand. Past pain, through healing, toward something new. Not perfect, but whole.